and I'm going to make you listen. Right. All right. There's several people in the room who have seen me now. This is their third time seeing me speak this week. Like my super fans right here. I just want to give them credit. They're so serious about building a brand. Anyway, as Nancy said, I'm Deb Gabor. I have been exactly where you are. I'm a CEO and founder of several companies and side gigs and interesting projects. And I'm currently working on a project to start up a business in Nepal, a people business in Nepal, which is sort of interesting. It provides all kinds of interesting challenges, like getting up in the middle of the night to have conference calls. So I'm feeling a little bit tired today. Also, I consider myself to be a brand expert. It's like the only thing I do. I love branding. I grew up in a brandless existence. My parents are from Eastern Europe. When they came here to the United States after being Holocaust survivors and then surviving the Hungarian Revolution, we were very practical, down-to-earth people. We didn't have brand name anything. Some of you women in the room, you might remember this toy that some girls had when we were growing up, which was this Barbie head. Do you remember the Barbie head where you could do the hair and you could put the makeup on and all that kind of stuff? Well, my parents wouldn't let me have Barbie. They got me Bobby. And Bobby was a head with dark hair on a suction cup. And you literally took her and you like suction cupped her to the table. And my little brother would take that and he would suction cup her to the bathroom mirror so that it would scare the crap out of me in the middle of the night. So anyway, I grew up in a completely brandless existence and somehow became obsessed with brands. The very first thing that I did when I got my driver's license when I was 16 years old was I drove straight to McDonald's. And I had for the very first time a McDonald's hamburger. I've never had one since. I'm a Filet-O-Fish girl. But anyway, this idea of brands, I'm obsessed with brands. I was born to brands. So let me get into what we are going to talk about here. I wrote these 3 books. Branding is Sex is the how-to book. It is not a book about sex. It is not a dirty book. There is real serious business content in there. Some of the people in this room have read it. My friend Roth over here, he said it pissed him off. But also he told me the other day he thought it was a really good book, so I appreciate that. Personality in the middle. If you are a CEO, you are a founder, you are somebody who is looking to create some kind of change, make an impact in the world, you need to read that book. That book is all about cultivating a platform of authority. What I mean by authority, that is cultivating a personal brand, and I'm not talking about making sure your colors match on your Instagram grid. I'm talking about creating portable authority that will carry you through your career, through your life, from company to company, from venture to venture. And then finally, irrational loyalty. Irrational loyalty is really what this talk is about. So let me start off by talking about this notion of irrational loyalty. Does anybody know what irrational loyalty is? All right. Yes. She's my very best friend. Now she is. I like it really, she is irrationally loyal. The fact that she's willing to sit through this for a third time. All right. Irrational loyalty is the condition where people are so indelibly bonded to your brand, they'd feel like they were cheating on you if they were to choose an alternative. Can you guys picture this? Anybody here irrationally loyal to a brand? What are you irrationally loyal to? Nike and Apple. Perfect. What are you irrationally loyal to? Apple. Okay, where are my Apple enthusiasts at? All right, how many of you have friends who use Android phones and you get a green text bubble? Does it make you feel twitchy? Ain't nothing rational about that, right? That twitchiness, that feeling that we get when we see our people with their stupid Samsung phones texting us with the green text bubble and we feel icky and all of that, that's where all the margin is for that iPhone, right? Irrational loyalty. I do research for a living. Irrational loyalty. We recently did a study where we looked at irrational loyalty in about 50 different categories, B2B, B2C, different markets of the world. We modeled this against the top 100 most valuable global brands. Here's what we found out. Companies that create this condition of irrational loyalty earn, on average, 40% more revenue than companies that don't. Irrational loyalty is the thing that makes brands scale faster, more profitably, with less drama. You make more money, right? Okay, you guys buy this? So brands are like people. Brands are like human beings. What can we learn from a brand that literally killed customers, as in dead, murdered them? Anybody here from Texas? You lived in Texas, right? All right, you guys familiar with this brand, Bluebell Ice Cream? Bluebell Ice Cream. 2015, they tried to effing kill us. Do y'all remember this? 3 people died, 5 people got this bad listeria infection. Bluebell Ice Cream closed down their main manufacturing plant in Brenham, Texas, which is about halfway between Austin and Houston. They sent everybody home. They pulled all the ice cream off the shelves of every grocery store in every state where they were sold. They closed the plant down for 2 whole years. They continued to pay their employees during this time. They invited in government investigators. They invited in private investigators. They apologized. They showed regard for humanity. And what happened when this brand came back on the market 2 years later? Well, people were waiting in line out the door, down the street, around the corner to get their hands on a half gallon of ice cream that literally killed customers. Killer effing ice cream, right? Anybody know what flavor it was? It was vanilla. Can you imagine? It wasn't even Millennium Crunch, all right? There is nothing more irrational than wanting to patronize a brand that killed its customers. I want to break down for you today, like this quality of irrational loyalty so that you can create it for your own brands. All right, how many of you have a brand that serves other businesses? Raise your hand, I know y'all do. All right, this is really important. This doesn't just apply for brands that serve consumers. So what about brands, B2B brands in the human era? These are your challenges. These aren't all of your challenges, but these are challenges that can be addressed by branding. Growing your business, staying top of mind, being on the short list. How many of you have to submit competitive bids or provide proposals? You want to like win in the coin toss, right? You want to manage client expectations. Everything is becoming commoditized today. Branding is the thing that makes you stand out. How many of you are hiring employees, or you have a pipeline to hire employees or a plan to hire employees in the next year or 2 years? This is very important, attracting and retaining on-brand, on-strategy talent. A brand is a magnet, note takers. A brand is a magnet, and it's designed to attract to you people who share values and beliefs that are in accordance with your brand. That's not just employees, that's investors, that's your community, that's customers, right? All right, so what is a brand? We're gonna do a little test. I'm gonna just ask people, raise your hand if you think you know what a brand is. Somebody raise a hand. Audience participation, or this is no fun. All right, Kate. It's your identity, it's who your market thinks you are. All right. It's a delivery of a promise to your customer. What else? Anyone else? All right, you both are right. Y'all are straight A students. This is how I define it, though. A brand is the collective emotional response to your product or service. There is no other practice in business where we get to talk about what we like and what we love and what we hug and attracting people to our hearts and things like that, right? It is the collective emotional response to your product or service. And so somebody said something about brand identity. A brand is a construct, and it's made up of 2 pieces. And imagine, if you will, the yin and the yang. And one piece of it, the yin, is your brand identity. That's the part of the brand that you own. And then wrapped around it is the brand image, which is the part of the brand that everyone else owns. You hope that those 2 things line up, right? Otherwise, you have a broken brand promise. Who said that a brand was a promise? Because we're going to talk about a promise. All right, so a brand is also expectations. We have expectations of the brands that we use. You are an Apple and Nike enthusiast. Every time you put on a pair of Nike shoes, you stimulate this inner dialogue inside of you. Do you have a Nike logo on your shirt right now? Okay. All right. It stimulates that internal dialogue with the inner athlete inside of you, right? That says, get up and go freaking do it. Greatness has no limits, right? That is an expectation you have. It's memories. I just told you the story of Bluebell Ice Cream. I'm from Austin, Texas. When I first got there, the very first thing I did when I arrived in Austin, Texas was I went to my company picnic with baby on hip, and I saw this weird phenomenon. All these little kids standing in a circle with their arms up in the air around an adult, and they were yelling, "Freem, Freem." I said, "What are they saying?" I said, "Oh, they're yelling for ice cream. That lady has Bluebell ice cream that she's handing out," right? So there's memories attached to that. Bluebell is like a religion in Central Texas. A brand is a relationship, and I want you guys to remember this. How many of you are in a relationship with a loved one? That could be a parent, it could be a child, could be a spouse, could be a business partner, sister, brother, whatever. All right, in that relationship where both of you behave on brand for the relationship, You each make deposits into an emotional bank account that you share. Hopefully, you're sharing that bank account, you're behaving on brand for your relationship because actions speak louder than marketing. Your relationship balance goes well into the positive, right? Can you guys picture this, right? So let's say you're married, right? You're married. So on days when Nico does a good job of like keeping the house clean, taking care of the dogs, maybe giving you a little time to rest, maybe he prepares dinner. At the end of the day, then, potentially you want to take a roll in the hay, right? Yeah. So when you guys behave on brand for your relationship, it goes well into the positive. Also, that positive balance prevents divorce when he does a bad job of loading the dishwasher, right? Brands have those relationships with their customers too, right? When you behave on brand for the relationship that you have with your customers, your relationship balance goes well into the positive. That's what creates that irrational loyalty. Where are my iPhone enthusiasts here? There have been some bad releases of iPhones, haven't there? Yet we keep buying them. That is irrational loyalty. Irrational loyalty is the thing that sustains these relationships over time. The next thing I want to say about brand, you guys have probably all been taught in business classes, in accelerator programs, by your coaches, by the videos you watch. They always tell you, they're like, oh, if you're going to come to market with a new product or service, it needs to be different, right? Differentiation. We talk about differentiation. I'm going to get on my soapbox right now and say that the only meaningful differentiation is uniqueness. The best, most valuable brands in the world are irreplaceable. There are imitations, but none can be as dispensable as the OG. The only kind of meaningful differentiation is uniqueness. When you look across the most valuable global brands in the world, which are Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Tencent, there are no imitators. There are people who try, but they don't come even close. And ultimately, where's my brand promise person? Somebody said a brand is a promise that you make. Okay, he's not even listening to me right now. Calling him out. All right, that's good. ADHD entrepreneur. I know it well. All right, so a brand is a promise, and your brand is your promise. Let's talk about a couple of famous brand promises here. How many of you know what the Ritz-Carlton's brand promise is? People who have seen me speak this week are not allowed to answer. Anybody? Steffi, do you know? Consistent luxury, how they express that is we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, right? I mean, she got this big beaming look on her face. You couldn't see it, but she was like, oh yeah, that's it. Okay, there you go. We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Your brand promise anchors the entire experience that people have with you at every touch point on the resort. The last time I stayed at a Ritz-Carlton resort was in Puerto Rico. I was out on the beach in my own private cabana. They brought me my own individual ice chest full of ice cold water, and I saw a man walking around on the beach. He had a doctor's coat on and he was carrying a doctor's bag. Anybody know what he was doing? First, I thought he was delivering IVs. And then he got close to me and he said, can I clean your sunglasses? We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. A brand promise is not just defining the experience that people have with your brand in 360 degrees. To some extent, it sums up your entire business strategy. So here's another one up here. Amazon. Anybody know what the brand promise is for Amazon? It's to be a platform for buying and selling everything from A to Z. It's even baked into their logo. You see that little arrow there? It's a platform for buying and selling everything from A to Z. Yes? We will consume all your cash. That's right. Like not a day goes by that I don't have an Amazon box on my front porch, right? But the brand promise is we're a platform for buying and selling everything from A to Z. Do you guys remember a couple of years ago when Amazon acquired the Kenmore brand from a bankrupting Sears? Y'all remember this? It left analysts and pundits scratching their head. They were like, what the heck is that about? Here's what that was about. If you're a platform for buying and selling everything from A to Z, you're not just sending socks from Amazon distribution headquarters to Ottumwa, Iowa. You're not just selling books and CDs and crap like that, right? You don't just handle small things, you have to handle big things. And what are Kenmore appliances? They're big things, right? Their ovens, their refrigerators, their washing machines. Also, imagine this. How many of you have some kind of Alexa technology in your home, right? Okay, a lot of us do. Imagine. Remember when Whole Foods or when Amazon purchased Whole Foods? Picture this. Kenmore branded appliance, sensors within the appliance, direct connection to Whole Foods. Your refrigerator can tell when you're running out of milk. It can make a direct order on Amazon to have that stuff delivered directly to your house by drone, and even in some cases placed directly in your refrigerator. Scary, right? But it's a platform for buying and selling everything from A to Z. Your brand promise is a summary of your entire business strategy, inclusive of the relationship you have with your customers. You guys buy that? All right, so brand is an intangible asset, and it's a financial asset. I'm gonna show you how it's a financial asset right now. Real quick, off the top of your head, if you think of a brand of canned soup that you could buy at the regular grocery store, not Whole Paycheck, Whole Foods, but like at Smith's or at Walmart, what brand immediately comes to the top of your head? Shout it out. You've seen this before. Campbell's, right? Okay. Anybody aware of any other brands of canned soup that you can buy at the regular grocery store? Progresso. Okay. Any others? Can anybody think of any others? What? Oh, okay. All right. Some bizarre vegan soup. All right. Has anybody ever heard of this brand of canned soup called Amy's? Yeah. Who's bought it? Okay. This is a proxy for market share, isn't it? Right? That first kind of awareness, the question that I asked you, when you think of a brand of canned soup that comes directly to the top of your head, what brand comes to the top of your head? Campbell's? That is called top of mind awareness. People who are taking notes, this is really important. Top of mind awareness is the strongest predictor of whether someone will purchase your product or your service. If they can name it off the top of their head. This is in every category. I told you I do research. We've modeled this. Every market of the world, products, services, business to consumer, high-end products, low-end products, right? This is the strongest predictor statistically of whether or not people will buy your product or your brand. Top of mind awareness. You're striving for top of mind awareness. It's a financial asset. Yes. So cellophane, Kleenex, Scotch tape. So those brand associations, it's sort of interesting. That's a really good question. Sometimes those brand associations become so tight that then, yeah, duct tape, all of these things, it commoditizes the brand, doesn't it? Because it's no longer unique. So as a brand, when you have achieved top of mind awareness that goes over the cliff, which is what he's talking about there. I mean, Xerox, Kleenex, Scotch tape, duct tape, you can think of tons of these things, Band-Aid, right? All of those. When you go so far that top of mind awareness has like taken the snowball, packed so much snow on it, and then like pushed it all the way over the cliff, you are in danger of commoditization. That's when creating a brand relationship is really, really important. It can become a bad thing. It really can. It can. And so the way to stave that off is by having like a true brand relationship that creates irrational loyalty. So I only buy Band-Aid brand bandages because it's the OG. I know it works. They deliver on my expectations. I'm irrationally loyal to them. I'll pay like twice as much as Walgreens brand bandages because I want there to be no question, right? And so the brand relationship is really important. So I want to go back to this awareness thing. We learned about top of mind awareness being the strongest predictor of whether or not somebody will purchase your brand. That second kind of awareness is called unaided awareness. Unaided awareness is good. That's what other brands can you mention off the top of your head? It's good, but it's not as good as top of mind awareness. Unaided awareness is only half as predictive of success. That means you're like in a sea of sameness with everyone else. Like people struggled to come up with a brand beyond Campbell's Soup, right? Can you come up with a brand beyond Band-Aid? I can't think of a single one. Curad? Curad? Yeah, okay. There you go. Unaided awareness. That third kind of awareness, the have you heard of, that is called recognition or recall. And when we do research studies about our own companies, we go out and we ask people, have you heard of me? Right? People want to say yes. When I talk to a room of 1,000 people and I ask how many people have heard of this brand of Amy's Soup, I might get 25 people who raise their hands. And then I'll say, how many people actually bought that? Maybe 3 people actually bought it, right? And then the rest of the people who said they were aware of it were lying. because people want to be seen as answering the questions correctly. So when you're out there measuring brand, what you're looking for is how many people can name it off the top of their head in your category. Do you guys understand how that is a financial asset? Yes. Kirkland brand from Costco. You can say it in front of me. We're going to get to that. Okay, you're jumping ahead of yourself. All right, so he's telling a story of a brand, isn't he? How many of you are Kirkland brand enthusiasts? Her hand is all the way up there. Yeah. Do you have a Kirkland sweatshirt? Do you have any Costco swag? You know, some people are irrationally loyal to Costco and their house brand Kirkland. Well, a brand is a story, right? A brand is a story, which is a shortcut for telling all of that stuff that you're talking about there. A brand is a story and your brand is your story. And the brand story works on the human brain, the way the human brain is made up. I am not a brain scientist, but I know enough about this, and I know enough about stories that the brain craves stories, right? The brain needs a story because people need to feel something to do something, right? So I created this diagram. It shows roughly 3 parts to the brain. Represented there in red is the neocortex, the frontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that controls rational thinking. It processes information. It does math. It processes language. It tells you this is black, this is white, right? It does the rational thinking. Also back here, you have the brain stem, the amygdala. This is the part of the brain that controls the fight or flight mechanism, which is the part of the brain that makes your body bigger and increase itself in surface area so that you can fend off predators, right? Finally, deep in the gooey core in yellow in my picture there is the limbic system, which is the part of the brain that gives people the feels. Which part of the brain do you think is concerned with branding? The limbic system, yes, because people who can't feel can't even facilitate the most basic decisions. If you don't believe me, go look at the work of this guy, Dr. Antonio Damasio, who was studying people who had broken their limbic systems. Physical trauma to their limbic systems in their brains. They had literally lost the ability to feel. We are not just talking about my ex-husband here, all right? People who had lost the ability to feel, they couldn't even facilitate the most basic decisions like paper or plastic, or turkey or chicken on my sandwich today, or God forbid, what time do I go see Dr. Damasio, right? People need to feel something to do something. Your brand makes people feel what they need to feel because 98% of what your brains are doing, what your customers' brains are doing, happens outside of what they're aware of. You only have 2% of your customer's brain to work with. Can you even imagine? And people are stupid to start with. You only have 2% of their brain to work with, and 95% of decision making happens in the heart, in the gut, in the senses, right? So you need to make people feel, and branding makes people feel. So I say brand or be branded. How many of you think of yourself or your business today as brand? How many of you? We've got a couple of you. By the time you walk out of here, you will be thinking of yourself as a brand because I'm going to give you everything you need to be able to do that. So brand or be branded, you have a brand whether you like it or not. Otherwise, you end up like United Airlines. You all remember this story from a couple of years ago, Dr. David Dow. He was pulled out of his airplane seat. Okay, so Dr. David Dow, emergency room physician, he's sitting in an airport boarding lounge on a Friday night about 7:30, getting ready to fly home to do his shift the next morning. Do you remember this story? This is an incredible story. All right, so Dr. Dow is sitting in the airplane boarding area. How many of you travel for business like I do? If I'm sitting in an airport boarding area at 7:30 on a Friday night, there's like no amount of money that's going to get me to give up my seat. How about you? Like if it's a Friday night, I'm going home, right? So the gate agent recognizes we are in an oversold situation. We need to get some people to give up their seats. You guys have heard this before, right? Like, okay, so we're currently in an oversold situation right now, and we are offering a $100 gift certificate plus $15 to eat at Qdoba in the food court. How many of you are taking that deal? No, none of you are taking that deal. So then they up the ante, right? They're like, okay, how about $200? How about $300? And people are like, nope. They're like, okay, we're going to give you $30 to the food court. No one is doing it. So the gate agent gets this wise idea. She's like, I'm going to go down the list and see who paid the least for their ticket. And that's the person we're going to bump. Has anybody ever been bumped from a flight? Oh, you don't want that to happen. You've been bumped from a flight. So they go down the list and they look. They're like, oh, this guy, he's so smart. He bought the cheapest ticket on the plane, but he's already on the plane. We need to get him off. So they go on the plane. They're like, okay, Dr. Dow, listen. Other people paid more for their tickets. I know you're in your seat, you're comfy, and you have your stuff in the overhead bin. You got your headphones on and stuff, but we need you to get up. How many of you are taking that deal? No one. So the gate agent calls security to come onto the plane. And she's like, you got to get this guy out of his seat. Security drags him out of his seat, knocks him senseless, drags him down the middle aisle of the plane while everybody is standing there snapping pictures with their iPhones. And God bless their Samsung devices. This video of Dr. David Dow being dragged bloody and senseless and unconscious down the middle aisle of a United Airlines flight was shared on Twitter over 11 million times. How long did it take before we heard from United Airlines? Anybody know? It took more than 48 hours, and when we did hear from them, it was in a 140-character tweet that was written by lawyers that blamed the victim. What happened to United Airlines stock the next day, their value as a company decreased $255 million in one day of trading. You have a brand, whether you like it or not, you have to control the narrative. So in this next section here, I am going to show you how to control the narrative, because your brand matters, and it's not about you. It's about other people. So everybody, people on your laptops, people who have your mobile phones, whatever, go to your company webpage right now. I'm going to give you a minute to do it. And we're going to see who's doing it right. All right. When you look at your company webpage, how many of you, and please be honest with yourself, be honest with me, be honest with each other, how many of you, the first word on the webpage is your company name or the word we? Oh. Y'all are doing it wrong, because your brand is about them. One small tweak to what you're doing. If you do nothing else in branding, do this one thing. Change the language on your website. Make your customers see themselves in your value proposition. Talk to them about what they can achieve through use of your brand rather than talking about what you do. All right, so that's one thing. Say it again louder. Do this one tweak. Change the language on your website to be towards your customer, telling your customer how they can see themselves using your product, your service, your brand to transform their own lives and be different, be better than what they were, okay? It's a very small thing. If you just do that, you'll be so far in front of your competitors. But that's not everything that you need to build a brand. So how many of you are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? You guys remember this from Psych 101, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it applies in two ways when we're talking about branding. First of all, it's a hierarchy, right? The meaning of a hierarchy is you got to satisfy the stuff at the bottom before you can get up to the top. At the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy are what we call basic physiological and safety needs: food, water, shelter, air, the ability to procreate, going to bed at night, not being afraid you're going to get eaten by a bear, right? You have to have those things satisfied before you can feel love and belonging and like you're part of a society or you're part of a group, right? Then once you feel like you belong, that builds your self-esteem. You're like, I am here, I belong, I love these people love me, and that gets you to the point of self-actualization. How many of you are fully self-actualized human beings? I love this, right? I speak all over the world. I told people this earlier this week. When I ask this question any place but the United States, everyone raises their hands. South America, Asia, Europe, people are like, oh yeah, I'm fully self-actualized. All right, Americans, get out there and get self-actualized. When you are feeling fully self-actualized, what does that feel like? Anybody know? Who are my self-actualized people? Yes. It feels like bliss. And she's smiling and she's leaning her hair back. It feels like you're vibrating on a different plane, right? You are your highest performing, best self, free of judgment for yourself and other people. You feel freaking awesome. And even if you aren't a fully self-actualized person, you probably have moments of self-actualization. You feel like you're in the flow, right? Okay, what people buy what they eat, what they drink, what they wear, the cars they drive, the software they buy for their business, the things that they use to recreate and rest are all part of their path up Maslow's hierarchies. Do you guys believe that? It's all part of the path to self-actualization. So brands have their own Maslow's hierarchy, and that is this. I call this the brand values pyramid. At the bottom of this pyramid are what we call functional benefits. So you asked the question before about the Kirkland brand, and you talked about its quality, reliability at a great price, right? These are functional benefits. Functional benefits are what the brand is, what the brand does. This is, if you've bought a car in the last, 2 years, it has wheels, right? It has a door or 5. It has a mode of perambulation. It doesn't even have to have an internal combustion engine anymore, right? You can have motors in the wheels, like in a Tesla. It has windows. Anybody buy a car in the last 12 months? Anyone? What kind of car did you buy? A BMW. Okay, what do we know about him that he bought a BMW? Say it loud with me. He's got money. All right, what we say back on the East Coast, we'd say he was an asshole, right? Does your BMW have wheels? I don't know. Do you have a steering wheel? Yeah. Okay. Most importantly, do you have like Apple CarPlay? What? Oh dear. All right. Okay. This presentation is done. You can leave. All right. He proves out the whole thing, right? Okay. So no matter what car you bought, if you bought it in the last 12 to 24 months, it has wheels, it has a steering wheel. If it's a luxury, what model BMW do you have? An X3? Oh, it's a speedy one. That's so nice. It's sporty. It's a sporty sedan, right? Oh, no, it's an SUV, midsize SUV. All right, so it's a midsize luxury SUV. I also drive a midsize luxury SUV. And so the functional benefits, what the brand is, what the brand does, these are the baseline requirements, the ante to get into the game. I do, yes. But I drive an Audi. Yeah, okay. So baseline requirements in order to be considered a mid-size luxury SUV. Leather seats, you got really nice headlights, you've got good tires, you have moonroof or sunroof or something like that. Yep, you got all that stuff. All except the Apple CarPlay. It's probably there, but you don't use an Apple, so you don't know, all right? Technology companies especially, for whatever reason, they market themselves on the baseline requirements. They market themselves on the basis of what the brand is, what the brand does. That's like selling ice cream by saying it's cold and it's sweet, right? It's dumb. Then in the middle part of this pyramid are what I call the emotional benefits. All right, now tell me, how does it make you feel when you're driving that BMW X3? How does it make you feel? It makes him feel exhilarated, cool, a little snobbish, confident, like he can achieve anything, he can go anywhere, he can arrive in style, makes him feel reliable, all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, makes you feel all those things? These emotional benefits, I feel the same way in my Audi Q5. I feel exactly the same way. Emotional benefits are not in and of themselves differentiating, right? The best brands in the world, they get to the top of this pyramid. The top of this pyramid are what we call self-expressive benefits, fully self-actualized brands. Say something about the people who use them. So now, stand up if you wouldn't mind. This man drives a BMW X3. He drives a BMW X3. What do we know about him? Positive things only. He likes name brands. Likes luxury, likes reliability. He's probably successful. That's an expensive car, right? He's stylish. He Yes. He likes good deals. He likes quality. He values the understated luxury, but he likes driving. Right? BMW is a driving machine. BMW is a car that's meant to be driven. This is what we know about him. Otherwise, he might be driving, I don't know, a Mazda whatever. Nothing wrong with Mazdas, by the way. Yeah. So BMW is a driver's car. This is what I know about him. He's a driver's car. So fully self-actualized brands don't stop at the emotional benefits. Now, the last thing I want to share with you about Maslow's hierarchy for brands is this. This is one of my soapbox things. Today's options packages are tomorrow's standard equipment. How many of you are old enough to have purchased a car where power door locks, power windows, power steering were extra? Raise your hands high, old people, right? We used to pay extra for that stuff. The first car that I bought after I finished undergrad, that I bought with my own money, a brand new car, I paid $400 for a vanity mirror. Y'all know what that is? Yes, right? It's ridiculous. Some car manufacturer made all of those things standard equipment for their line of cars, and it became standard for the entire industry. This is really important. How many of you have a technology business or a business that has a technology-enabled value proposition? This means you do not market on the basis of your proven proprietary technology, your IP, your whiz-bang feature, your toggle switch, whatever it is. This is really, really important. Because today's options packages are tomorrow's standard equipment. As soon as you put it out there to the world, it becomes standard for the entire category. That's why it's so important to get to the top of this pyramid and have those self-expressive benefits and actually use your brand as a magnet to attract to you people who share values and beliefs that are aligned with your own, right? And so where does this start? So I'm going to go blazing fast right now, and I'm going to teach you how to build the strategic underpinnings of your brand so fast that your heads are going to spin. Number one, the best brands in the world, they do 4 things. I'm going to tell you the first thing they do. They aim their brand at an ideal archetypal customer. How many of you have in your business model canvas or in your business plan something called an ICP, ideal customer profile? All right, ICP is bullshit. I'm going to tell you this right now. ICP, ideal customer profile, it doesn't go far enough because usually it's a demographic, firmographic profile. How many of you in your ICP, you have like a range of ages, or you're like, we're for working moms, right? It doesn't go deep enough. Or we're for companies that have between 100 and 9 million employees, right? The ICP doesn't go far enough. That's why you need to, in branding, build the ideal customer archetype, and it is an archetype. This is the customer, the singular customer, your North Star, the avatar for your business that your brand is built for. This is the single customer who is worth the most over the long haul, the one that is going to buy from you again and again and again, who is the most profitable and a delight to serve, the one who is your brand's champion, the one who your brand is perfectly made for. And it is not just a demographic profile or a firmographic profile. It is a psychographic, attitudinal, behavioral profile of the person who is most predictive of your success, the one who is going to be the most profitable to serve, right? And here's how you do this exercise. You pull your team together, you get some of those big Post-it note papers, you put that stuff on the wall, and you draw it. You draw a picture of it. What do they look like, right? Are they a good listener? Do they have big ears, right? What kind of shoes are they wearing to work? Do they wear work boots? Do they wear running shoes? Are they wearing cute boots, heels, right? What do they look like? What is their day like? What is a typical day like for them? What keeps them up at night? Literally, what makes them sit up in bed at night and sweat ice cubes? What are they afraid of? What are their goals? What are their challenges? What makes them feel sexy, right? You need to know everything about this person and get your team aligned on this. And at the end, I'm going to give you a QR code so you can download all of these exercises so you can take this back to your team and you can do this, okay? All right, here's how this works. We're going to do a quick test. You guys are familiar with Whole Foods, Whole Paycheck? Right? All right, we have 3 possible ideal customers here for Whole Foods, Whole Paycheck. On the left there, we have Hippie Chick. Her parents are so proud. She became a meme over the last couple of years. You probably saw her on Instagram. She smells like patchouli, right? Okay, we're going to call her Hippie Chick. Up in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to call her Lulu. She's wearing $400 worth of Lulu athleisure. That's such a hard word for me. $400 worth of Lulu athleisure. She hasn't been to the gym in a year. But she's checking those food labels at the shelf. And then down below, we have Christy. She's in her denim shirt. She looks like she has a bun in the oven. She has a grocery cart full of delicious Whole Foods and snacks. And then she has her non-gender specific child there holding a head of Napa cabbage. Which one of these people do you think is Whole Foods' ideal customer? Number 2. We got a number 2. Who else? Number 2. Is number 2 Lulu? No, Whole Foods' ideal customer is Christy. She is the one who is worth the most to them over time. She will fill her basket and she will go there every flippin' week, right? She is a person, if you understand about Christy, what do you think Christy's number 1 goal is? feeding her family healthy food. Her number one goal is to be seen by everyone on the block that she is the best mom, right? Her kids are overscheduled. They're in every class. They go to everything. They're at the top of their class every single time, right? She is the one who is worth the most over the long haul. Now, when you walk into a Whole Foods store, who do you think the store is made for? You think it's made for hippie chick. Yeah. Right? Like all that burlap and the good, better, best. I mean, she goes there every once in a while when it's a special occasion. All right, real quick, those of you who serve other businesses, I have a strategy, research, and marketing firm for B2B technology and professional services companies. My ideal customer for my company, my ideal customer archetype is this woman named Lindsay. This is sort of a stylized version of the picture that we made of her a couple of years ago, and actually Dana here knows Lindsay, and she's actually worked with her. So Lindsay is an award-winning, recognized marketer. She is someone that we have worked with at 5 different technology companies. She's currently in charge of mid-market branding and marketing and research at SAP. So we've worked with her at Dell, we worked with her at Epicor, we worked with her at SAP, et cetera, et cetera. This person is so irrationally loyal to my brand that she will stake her professional reputation on hiring us. Literally, when she gets into the job, she says, it needs to be part of my employment contract that I get to hire Deb and her team. There's no one more irrationally loyal than that, right? So you can make this picture for your company. I can recognize these characteristics in other potential clients every conversation I have. So in addition to being an award-winning marketer, you can see she has a tree there. She's in growth mode. She's got a lot at stake to get it right. There's a target in the tree. This is a person who is extremely results oriented. She does not want to talk about the process. She's not very detail oriented. She's just like, how is this going to help me win? Most important thing in this picture is this. Can you see there's a little shovel in the front there? We call this Lindsay's golden shovel. When someone comes to her with a spectacular idea that's really strategic, that's going to help her meet her goals, she grabs her golden shovel and she digs for budget all over the organization. Do you see how we created this profile? This is not just demographics or firmographics. These are attitudinal, psychographic, behavioral characteristics. I can aim my brand directly at that. I can say to people with my messaging, you are an innovative, thoughtful, results-oriented marketer who is in growth mode, who is taking your company to the next level. The average CMO tenure is about 18 months. You have a very short window to do this and a lot at stake to get it right. You do not have enough time or the energy to mess around with a marketing firm that you have to tell them what to do. See how powerful that is? I'm using my brand to attract to me the right person. So I'm gonna give you the ideal customer archetype exercise. All right, another exercise that I am giving you that you can download is this brand values pyramid exercise. How you do this one real quick? How you do this is you are going to be asked the question of what are the functional benefits for my category? So if we're talking about a mid-size luxury SUV, what are the things that have to be there, otherwise people will defect? And then you're going to give yourself a grade on those. So if you are on par with everybody else, you give yourself, I think my grading system is like check, check, plus, check, minus. You give yourself a check. If you're better than everyone else in the category, you give yourself a check plus. If you have work to do, you give yourself a check minus. Please, please, please be really, really honest with yourself, because this is going to help you shore up your operations and give you a roadmap for the stuff you need to fix. All right, in the middle part of the pyramid, there's 2 questions it's going to ask. What are the bells and whistles? What are the special things that we do? What is our proven proprietary IP lockdown stuff? And what are the benefits of that? More importantly, how does that make people feel? And then finally, it's going to ask you a question about what are all of the values and beliefs that we are aligned with our customers, right? So I'm going to give you that exercise too. But the most important thing, and this is where we're in the home stretch right now, the most important thing about branding, if you don't do any of my exercises, you don't do the ideal customer archetype, which I don't see why you wouldn't, but but if you decide to just skip ahead, if you do nothing else, I want you to do this. To get to the top of this brand values pyramid, answer these questions about your brand. So remember, I said the best brands in the world, they do 4 things. Number 1, they aim their brand at a singular ideal customer. Number 2, they become part of that person's identity. Number 3, they're not just different, they're unique. Number 4, they make their customer the hero in their own story. This is the shortcut to figuring all that out. Answer these 3 questions. First question, what does it say about your customer that they use your brand? What does it say about them? What does it say about your customer that they use your brand? Remember when this gentleman stood up and we were guessing a story about him because of his BMW X3? Like, that's a driver's car. He's a guy who likes to drive. He likes to be exhilarated. He likes value, but he also likes quality, elegance, luxury, and he wants to look cool, right? What does it say about your customer that they use your brand? Next question, hardest question to answer. This is where I earn all my money. This is the hardest question to answer. And most of the time, people answer this incorrectly because they come up with a feature or a doohickey, or a bell or a whistle or a lipstick or a bow that they think makes their brand different. What is the singular benefit? What is the one thing that a customer gets from you that they don't get from anyone else? So I told you I run a strategy, research, and marketing firm for B2B technology companies, right? The one thing they get from me that they don't get from anyone else who does exactly what I do, and I'm sorry, you can't swing a cat over your head and not hit 150 other people in a 30-mile radius who do exactly what I do, but the one thing that they get from me and my company is the proverbial kick in the ass. Because my goal is to take a disruptive dark horse brand and make them a top 10 most valuable global brand. That means you don't need a marketing agency that just takes direction and takes orders. You need someone who is actually going to give you a push and propel you, right? What's the one thing that people get from you that they don't get from anyone else? Answer this question, answer it again, answer it again, answer it again, and keep checking. Are you sure? Are you sure? If you do not know the answer to this question, ask your customers. Nancy mentioned earlier a video about the job of a McDonald's milkshake. Go and watch that video. Dr. Clayton Christensen, he talks about what is the job of a McDonald's milkshake. People hire you and your brand to do a job for them. They don't buy a product. They don't consume a service. They're hiring you to do a job for them. It is your job to figure out what is the job that they're hiring you to do, right? Finally, last question. Remember I said open your company website. How many of you, the first word on the web page is your company name or the word we? You're doing it wrong. Your customer gets to be the hero in their own story. You make them a hero. Figure out how you make them a hero. You need to understand their story, and you need to understand what it is they're trying to achieve, where they're trying to go, what it looks like when they get there, what happens when they plant the flag at the top of the mountain and they've won. And it's your job to show them how you're their sidekick on that journey. All right, so I'm going to go back over these real quick. Number one, what does it say about your customer that they use your brand? Number two, what is the singular benefit, or what is the one thing they get from you they don't get from anyone else? And then finally, how do you make your customer the hero in their own story? So I challenge you, which of these little tools that I gave you here today are you going to take away and use to transform your business? Anybody going to try any of these things? She's going to do something. What are you going to do? The ideal customer archetype. All right. Yeah, I know you guys are going to do all of them because you downloaded the things last night, right? Okay. You guys, I'm giving these resources away for free. Scan that thing. I am so compelled to give this information away for free. I want you to scan that thing. You do not have to give me an email address. You don't have to log into anything. It is not behind a paywall. I am on a million brand mission. I am looking to elevate a million brands, right? So I got to give this stuff away for free. So go ahead and download that stuff. The other thing I want to encourage you to do, that is my phone number and my email address, my phone number and my personal email address. Use it. Please reach out to me, text me, call me, send me an email. Just tell me where we met, because I give out my phone number all the time, and I've gotten some really weird inquiries. But definitely let me know where we met. I want to talk to you about your brand. Like, most of the time, if somebody comes to me with a branding problem, I usually can solve it within a 15-minute conversation by using some of these tools. All right, so that's all I have for you today. Make sure you get my contact information. I am telling you, please, please, please use it. I hope that there is something in here that's inspiring and helpful and useful to you. And that's all I have. All right. I don't think we have time for questions, do we?
Yeah, sure. Well,
Oh, we have questions? Questions. All right, let me go right here.
All these experiences create this ideal. What I'm sure like most out that targeting the audience.